huge welcome back to the Referral Mastery course. This is session 3. Today we're going to take the next step in organizing your database. And really today is a very exciting session because I know what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks as you go and implement today's steps for mastery, as I'm calling them. You are going to pick up an enormous number of leads in a short period of time. We've done this with so many people internationally that I can confidently tell you that if you go and do the exercise I'm going to teach you today, it is going to be a huge blessing to your business and bring in a lot of business. So today we are talking about priming your database. Priming your database. So just as a little recap of where we're at so far, we're looking at this apple tree diagram, which is representing our whole referral system. We are obviously trying to cultivate beautiful, healthy apples, which in our case is repeats and referrals. The repeat and referral business are going to come from people, and that group of people we are calling your database. In our last session, we talked about how to initially organize your database. We talked about building your database, so making as big a list of names as you can, then sorting that list down to your 100 to 300 advocates. Everybody else is going on your B list unless they get deleted. And then the last step was to capture your database onto your contact management system or your CRM system. Well, hopefully that's where you are right now. And if you're not, can I suggest to you that you rather pause this video and complete those first few steps, because you're going to just get further and further behind if you don't keep up with the homework. Today we're talking about priming the database, which is the final step in the whole organization process of getting your database ready for the ongoing implementation of the system. Because obviously you've picked up by now, what we're going to be doing is keeping in touch on a regular basis with this group of people that we're calling your advocates. And once the humdrum of that starts, it's just going to be certain daily and weekly disciplines that you keep up with. What we're doing right now is we're still getting everything ready. It's kind of the hard work in advance so that the rocket can launch out and just start getting into its orbit. So we're doing the hard work up front now, but the work I'm going to give you today, as I say, is going to actually pay dividends immediately for you in your business. So let's talk about priming your database. That image you see on the screen right now is a pump. Maybe you've never seen an old-fashioned hand pump before, but if you go into the Karoo Desert, for example, in South Africa, maybe there are deserts in your part of the world that still have these, and you go into an old farm, you will still find these hand pumps. And the way one of these old pumps works is you grab the handle and you pump and pump and pump and pump and pump, and what it's called is priming the pump. You are having to use an enormous amount of energy to get the water from deep underground, and you're pulling it as you're pumping, and then your arm gets tired and you want to stop, and it's like, don't stop, you've got to keep going, otherwise you're going to lose all the hard work you did. And you've got to keep pumping, and then it slowly starts, a few spits in the beginning, keep going, you're almost there, keep going, and then a little bit more until there's this clean, free flow of water coming out the tap of the pump, and at that point, you can let go of the handle. Now that is exactly what we're going to be doing with your database. Why do I like to use this analogy of priming a pump for getting yourself ready to implement your system? And there are three reasons, three analogies I want to draw for you here. The first one is that given the big picture of where you're going, this ongoing keep in touch system, given that as our big picture, before you start keeping in touch, you've got to, number one, confirm each advocate's support. You know, you don't want to add someone on as an advocate on your database. You've got a whole bunch of other B-list clients, but this is one of the 100 to 300 people that you think is most likely to refer you, and so you put them on as an advocate. But behind the scenes, that person's wife just became a real estate agent. And they're never going to support you. They're never going to refer anybody to you because they're going to be loyal to their wife. It's just an example. So you don't want to use up one of your pre-selected, limited spaces for your advocates with people who are not going to support you. This is the first thing this database primer dialogue that I'm going to teach you is designed to do. It will confirm that the advocate that you have put on your list as an advocate is in fact an advocate. They are going to verbally commit to you, yes, I would be willing to refer you. Okay, so that's the first job. The second job you got to do by way of priming the pump is to awaken their support. Have you ever had a friend or a family member or a past client do a deal with another agent? And you feel the pain of it as I ask the question, and I know you do because it's happened to all of us. And the question we've got to ask ourselves is, whose fault is that? Is it their fault that they weren't loyal to you and you gave them such good service, or they're a family member, they should know better? Well, in a way, I think it's honest enough for us to say that the fault is partially our own. Because, as I said, Brad Neal told us in our last session, he admitted he hadn't kept in touch with that past client as he ought to have. And so really he took the responsibility himself, which I think is a mature approach. What this database primer dialogue is going to do is awaken the dormant support that is actually out there. You know, there are many people out there who would very happily refer you to their friends and family who are thinking of buying or selling property, very happily, but they just never think about it. They're at a dinner party and somebody across the table says, you know, we're thinking of selling our house. That piece of information goes in one ear and out the other, and the conversation just carries on at the dinner table. What we want to do is get people to this point that we call critical mass, where they hear across the dinner table, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house, and light bulbs flash, bells ring in their head, and it's like it rises to their conscious mind. I need to let my agent know, and I need to tell them, hey, you need to use Stephen. Have you met Steve Johnston? That guy is incredible. He's a wonderful agent. He's given us great support on a number of transactions. Let me give you his details. I strongly recommend you use him. Now, that conversation doesn't happen naturally. You have to awaken that sense of awareness in people. Now, that's the second thing this dialogue is going to do. And then the third thing is you need to prepare your advocates for the level of contact they're about to start receiving. Because as you get into the program, you're going to learn that I'm going to teach you to keep in touch on a regular basis using a combination of like an email newsletter that goes once a month, a phone call every 6 weeks, a personal face-to-face visit once every couple of months. Handwritten notes are going to be coming regularly. They're going to be invited to a client party once or twice a year. The level of contact they have from you is about to ramp up considerably. Now, you don't want that to be awkward. Like, my goodness, why is this lady phoning me and sending me all this stuff? You have to explain it to them so that they understand what's happening when they start getting all this contact. That's the third thing that the database primer dialogue is going to do. And when you put those three things together, it forms an incredibly powerful foundation for you to now build your ongoing keep in touch system on. So you will do these three things using the database primer dialogue. Okay, so in your workbook, the next step after building, sorting, and capturing your database is to phone through all your advocates and prime each person using the database primer dialogue. Okay, so this is something that takes place on a phone call. You're going to phone through, let's just say you've got 300 advocates. You're going to phone through all 300 advocates and you're going to use this dialogue on that phone call. Now, on the Apple tree, just to keep your Apple tree up to date, we're still on the database section, but let's just cast our eyes down towards the dialogue section of the Apple tree, and I want you to fill in the first of the 6 dialogues I'm going to teach you, which is the database primer. So this is the first of the 6 dialogues, so maybe you want to just fill that in on your Apple tree. Okay, so let's look at the database primer dialogues together. You're going to phone them, have whatever chit chat you have at the beginning of the call, and then say, anyway, John, the reason for my call is that I've recently made a decision to build my business exclusively by referral, and that's going to mean focusing on 2 things. Delivering an exceptional level of service to my current clients, but also keeping in touch better with my past clients. And so what I'm trying to do initially is get clear on who it is who would actually be happy to refer me. So can I ask you, if you were buying or selling your home, or you had a friend or a family member who was, am I the agent you would refer them to? Would you be happy to refer me? Now, at that point of the conversation, you need to be quiet. Don't mess it up now by talking. They must verbally commit to saying, yes, I will, and I am happy to refer you. Okay, so let's read through that one last time, and then what I would suggest you do is actually pause this video and just role play it yourself. Even if you've got no one to role play it with in the office, if you're on your own, just do it yourself. Practice this dialogue, because this is something you're going to need to become familiar with, because you're going to be making 300 of these phone calls in the next couple of weeks. So we phone them up, a little bit of chit chat, then anyway, John, the reason for my call is that I've recently made a decision to build my business exclusively by referral. And that's going to mean focusing on two things: delivering an exceptional level of service to my current clients, but also keeping in touch better with my past clients. And so what I'm trying to do initially is get clear on who it is who would actually be happy to refer me. So can I ask you, if you were buying or selling your home, or you had a friend or a family member who was, am I the agent you would refer them to? Would you be happy to refer me? They say, yes, Stephen, of course I would. Great. Thanks so much for that, John. Your referrals really do mean a lot to me, and I'm going to be in touch with you more regularly in the future with a new program that I'm launching called my Client Appreciation Program, or my Trusted Advisor Program, as I've been calling it. So you might want to just explain to them, I've got a program, I'm going to be keeping in touch more regularly. Okay, that's the database primer dialogue. After you have made each phone call, and do it one by one, after each phone call, this is the thing you immediately do after the phone call. Immediately after each successful primer phone call, write the advocate a handwritten note to thank them for their pledge of support. Now, we are not so naive as to think that just because someone on a phone call says to you, yeah, I'd be happy to refer you, of course, that they are actually going to refer you, that they are going to have that critical mass, top of mind awareness, so that when they're at the dinner party, they think of you. We're not that naive. This is just the start of the process. We are now going to begin to send multiple touch types, multiple pieces of communication to this person that continually reinforce this message that, hey, I'm so grateful that you have committed to referring me. And the more you communicate that, the more that top of mind awareness starts to rise to their conscious mind. So immediately we are going to reinforce the message with a handwritten note. Handwritten notes are incredibly powerful. It's something I'm going to do a separate teaching on in one of the sessions of this course. For now, please just trust me. You're going to send a handwritten note, and here's exactly what the note must say. Dear Mr. Jones, just a short note to say a big thank you for pledging your support for my business. I deeply value my relationship with you, and so your referrals are tremendously important to me. I promise to look after anyone you refer to me, and if there is ever anything I can do for you, please let me know. Chat soon, and then your name. Okay, just trust me. Just write the notes word for word, exactly like that. What we are doing is using certain language over and over. Pledge, support, referrals. You can trust anybody that you refer to me. These are things that we're going to be communicating over and over and over and over. And it's the repetition of certain language that brings people to critical mass in your business. Okay, so you've got it. You're phoning through all 300 advocates. Each time you phone, you use the database primer dialogue. They say, yes, I'd be happy to support you. You say, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'll be in touch more regularly in the future. You put down the phone. You immediately write a handwritten note to them saying that. Put it in an envelope, address it, put a stamp on it, and post it. Just post the notes. Okay, so let's look at your steps toward mastery for the next 2 weeks or before the next session. First one is phone through all of your advocates and prime each one using the database primer dialogue. I put the maths on the slide there for you. If you've got 100 advocates and you're working 5 days a week over 2 weeks, that's going to be 10 calls per day. If you've got 200, it's 20. And if you've got 300 advocates, it's 30 calls a day. No one is saying this is not a lot of hard work. I'm not pretending that it's easy. it's not intellectually difficult. You can understand what I've told you today. Obviously, it's just the disciplines and the consistency in getting through 300 phone calls in 2 weeks. But guys, this is the hard work of the system. I promise you, you do this, you're going to pick up leads and you're going to set yourself up really strong for the future as you now begin implementing your Keep in Touch system. So that's the first one, you phone through. Second step is to then send every successfully primed advocate a handwritten note thanking them for their pledge of support. All right, so a huge God bless you from me. I trust that the next 2 weeks will be a massive blessing to your business. I would love to read all of your testimonials. Please put them below the video for the leads that you pick up, the business that you get, the money that you make from this exercise, because that's one of the sort of side effects of doing this. Yes, it's preparing your database for the future, but we often see agents pick up enormous amounts of business just from these phone calls. So enjoy it. In our next session, we're going to be looking at service excellence. So on that apple tree, we're going to be looking at the fragile container, and I'll be talking a little bit about service excellence and some techniques in that regard. And I look forward to being together with you then. So cheers for now.